In this video, I'm going to show you how to use Maya's hair system to create dynamic chains. Now, for characters, we can use dynamic chains for tails, appendages, antennas, a bunch of different things. Right? We can also use dynamic chains with ropes, chains. Possibilities are really endless. But to demonstrate this, I'm going to go and create just a quick joint chain here, just like that, to represent that appendage that we want set up. Right now, before we go ahead and set this up with an IK spline handle, what we want to do is go in and use a CV curve tool, and we want to make sure that it's set to cubic, and point snap each CV of the curve to one of the joints. Right? So if we go and select components, we'll see that we have a CV at every joint. Great. The next thing we want to do is use Maya's end hair with the curve selected to make it dynamic. So we'll go to make selected curve dynamic, and we'll make sure the output is a NURBS curve, and we'll hit make curves dynamic. And you'll notice that a few nodes here were created. We got a hair system in place, and we got a nucleus driving the dynamics of the hair system. Right? We have our output curve, which is what's being driven by the dynamic simulation, and we have the follicle where all the attributes we'll be taking a look at later are in. So we have all these attributes we can tweak to get the desired effect we want. So now let's go ahead. I'm gonna go and expand the timeline to about 400 frames. It's always good to have enough frames for the dynamics to calculate. Excuse me. And if I hit play, you'll notice two things. You'll notice one, that the curve is attached to both ends, and that's not exactly the effect we want. We want it to definitely be attached to the root joint, but we also want it to be hanging loose, hanging free, and not attached at the other end. Right? So let's stop the simulation. And the way we fix this is by going to follicle node. And right here in the follicle attributes, we have this point lock drop down here, and right now it's set to both ends. We want to set it to just base. Right? And if we play it again, you'll see now that the curve is only attached to the root joint. Okay, so let's rewind that. And the other thing we notice is that we still haven't set up the joints to follow the curve. So let's go back to our animation tab, and let's set up an IK spline handle. And by default, you'll notice that the tool creates a curve for us, and we don't want that because we have our own curve that we made dynamic that we want to use. We don't need outer parent curve either. We can do that ourselves. And let's go ahead and select the root joint, the end joint, and last our curve. And there we have it. And if we hit play, you'll see that now the curve is driving the joint chain. Okay? Perfect. Now we have a dynamic chain. Now you'll notice that the let me keep playing here. You notice that the curve right now is fairly stiff, especially in the here at the beginning, right? And it really depends on what kind of effect you're looking for, you're going for. But if you want to tweak this, right, there are two places you can go to. One is at the follicle shape node, right? If I go to the attribute editor, and if I go down here to dynamics override and override dynamics, I have some parameters I can tweak, including stiffness scale. You have an overall stiffness here, and then you can tweak how it tapers down the curve. It tapers down. You can also go to the hair system shape itself and tweak things like how it's behaving on the simulation. So you can tweak things like bend resistance. If I drop this all the way down to 0.1, for example, and play it, you'll see now that our curve just kind of droops down a lot more, right? You can also, you see it's kind of moving slow too, kind of really sluggish. You can tweak these kind of things. If we go back to the follicle, and where is it? I guess it's back here. Hair system shape. Yeah. Here, drag. We can bring this way down as well. You'll see it'll kind of fall a lot quicker. Now keep in mind, it's a good idea to go to play blast. Go to right click the timeline, go to playback speed, and you want to play every frame, because mine needs to compute every frame for the dynamics to look right. And keep in mind, this is it might be a little slow depending on your system, because it's doing calculations. So you can always play blast this to get a better idea. But basically, that's a dynamic chain setup using Maya's hair. And I hope you enjoyed it, and thank you for watching. And I hope you learned something, and you can use some of this in your future setups. Alright? Thanks.